everyone, I'm your host Ashley Krez, and thanks for joining us on It's All Millennial. Here we discuss interesting topics relating to a large segment of our population, better known as Generation Y. On today's show we're talking about modern romance and what that looks like for millennials, and here with us to share their thoughts are Paul Lavergne, a therapist and relationship therapist who has an interest in sexuality at their turning point, and Ornela Dule, a counselor and therapist. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, Ashley.
Thank you very much for
welcome. So modern romance, dating in 2014 for millennials, I think that it has evolved from the way people used to meet. We're really in the days of, technology, using that to meet people as well. People are delaying when they're getting married longer than ever. So, let's get into this.
Sure.
The pre-stages, right? Meeting people. Paul, maybe you can share with us some of your thoughts on the dating scene and what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, people love dating sites, Ashley, right now. And, I did a little bit of research on this, and it seems like about 1 in 10 have tried them. And for the people that are single and looking, it's 38%. So, I mean, it's not quite half. I thought it might have been a bit higher, but that would be the highest percentage. 66% of people have said they would date someone they've met online. So that means, about 40% of the people they meet online, they don't ever date, but they'll date over half of them. And I thought this was kind of funny. There's still, even with the acceptance of dating sites, 21% still feel that going on a dating site means you're desperate.
Ooh.
That's right.
All right.
There's a wide range. When I was looking into this, I kind of pulled up the top 10 dating sites, and what I saw was that they're really very specific to sort of what you're looking for.
Sure.
Right? So you have, some of the most popular ones are like Zeus, Match.com, Elite Singles, and they kind of focus on, questionnaires, really filling out a lot of, answering a lot of questions and really trying to match people together for sort of that serious relationship. One thing that kind of surprised me a bit was the senior dating sites out there. So there's one called seniorpeoplemeet.com, and there's another one called Professional Singles Over 40. So,
other millennial dating sites.
That's right. All those sort of like double millennials, right? They're kind of like in their 40s, 50s. So maybe they're widowers or they're divorced, and they're still young enough that they, they still want a partner to share life with. And then there's, Christian Mingle is a huge one. So that's for people that sort of share those, common value set or common set of beliefs. They're looking for someone similar. And then there's a site called Be Naughty.
Okay.
So their motto is fresh, fun, and flirtatious casual dating. So you can, use your imagination, kind of figure out what that's all about.
Yeah.
And
there's so many. Paul. There's so many different dating sites for people.
Oh yeah.
And
thousands.
A world of opportunity, really. Ornella, maybe you can share with us some dating tips, right? So we have all these resources available for us, different websites, depending on what you're looking for, what stages of your life. But dating tips, right? What does that look like?
Well, it depends on the. First of all, you have to keep in mind that dating is, if it's for the first time you know the person, you have to be very careful. That means that you have to take care of yourself, first of all, because you are very important in the dating, no?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. You have to have, first of all the information about that person you are trying to date or to enter a relationship, and also to have some kind of being careful. First of all, having some money with you when you are going to date, or having a taxi number or an emergency number you want to use in case of. Also, you have to have, sometimes when you think of having a sexual relationship with that person, to have contraceptives.
Of course.
So to be careful with that.
Yeah. So healthy dating tips, being street smart, as they say, right, when meeting new people.
Yeah.
So, the evolution of it, right? You're getting to know somebody, say you do hit it off. Gender roles, we have a little bit of time. Gender roles, such an interesting topic, right? Do gender roles still exist? The traditional ones, in terms of, going on that first date, on the second date. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would think that one of the biggest changes would be from, say, the Gen X or the Gen Y generation is women will initiate more. You know, 20 years ago was pretty much 99% of the time the guy would ask the girl out, and that's really changed. Girls are a little more assertive, even aggressive at times. And you know, I don't think the guy is expected to pay for everything anymore either. A lot of times it's you know, you split the costs. And you know, I mean, it's good to talk about that up front, so there's no surprises.
Yeah.
But I think those are a couple of the big changes we're seeing, and also just I think because of social media, and it's possible, you know, to literally, I mean, you could meet a different person every night of the week if you wanted to go on a dates, whereas, you know, 20 years ago, I mean, that just wasn't possible. People were limited to their community and their social circle and the community they lived in, and that was about it. So, so you see a lot more what you would call, I guess, casual dating, you know, hanging out and that kind of thing.
So do you think that's actually helpful, though? You know, okay, so we're talking about gender roles, but you know, a little off skirt here, in terms of getting to know a variety of people, right? Where you know, there's as we said, many different websites and apps, and you know, meeting people face to face still exists as well, but sort of making that selection process, right?
Yeah, and I think you know, there's sort of a dark side to this too as well. You know, over half, when they've polled people that have used dating sites, over half said they felt the other person seriously misrepresented themselves.
Sure.
You know, and you have to keep that in mind. They're putting their best foot forward. They're putting themselves in a positive light. You know, their picture could be old, or it might not even look like them, or they could be completely lying about the fact that they're, you know, working and making a lot of money. I mean, he could be, you know, living at home in his mom's basement and not have a jab, and you wouldn't really know that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
well,
yeah,
sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
That's good. Well, keep watching after the break. When we come back, we'll keep talking about, you know, gender roles, dating, all that great stuff. Keep watching. back to the show. We have here with us Paul and Ornela talking about dating with millennials in 2014. Welcome, guys.
Ashley?
Yes. So before the break, we were talking about, online profiles. Paul, you were sharing how, a poll was taken, how people might actually misrepresent themselves online and sort of the impact of that, right, in dating.
Yeah, it's very common. I mean, almost half of people polled said that they felt that at least once someone had seriously misrepresented themselves. So what you see is not always what you get. And I think a note of caution is warranted here too, that up to 28% of people said they experienced behavior that they considered harassment or that made them feel uncomfortable, and the vast majority of those was women. So this is mostly from men to women.
Yeah.
And so things got across the line or got overboard, and those people really felt uncomfortable, so had to just kind of end it right there. So it's just a cautionary note that people need to be aware that is definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that goes as well for face-to-face, just
For sure.
again, as Ornella was saying too, being smart about when meeting new people, right? And just meeting in public areas, keeping some protection, but having fun with it as well, not being too hesitant to reach out, right? So let's switch gears a little bit, right? So you have a good connection with somebody, you're feeling, the vibe and the relationship as a potential to move forward. So Ornella, share with us, how do you have that talk, that exclusive talk, in terms of, just wanting to date each other?
First of all, as I told you before, it's very important to take care of yourself and what you want from the relationship and how far you want to go with the relationship. Yeah. So it's, I think it's very common nowadays that people try to get more from the relationship, from the first time, from the first dating. But it's very important also to have in mind that you have to think carefully of the consequences, all the consequences that this relationship will have. So,
and not just consequences, like negative consequences.
Yeah, negative for yourself, because they might be not negative for the other, for the other person, but for yourself. And also you have to think that that exclusive talk should be on your own interest. So you have to put your own interest before of everything. So you have to think that by this exclusive talk you have to get the most of. So the most of the relationship, if you want to go further or not, if you want to make more steps on that, so you have to think very carefully of that.
So really being mindful within ourselves, what I want, how am I going to benefit, and how's the other person going to benefit as
and
well,
think also how to tell the other person what you want and how you want to go till there. And nowadays you can see that there is more freedom on expressing ourselves, especially on the feminine side.
Of course,
so the women are more expressive nowadays.
It's interesting with millennials being called the hookup culture, where no strings attached, relationships. So what do you do then when you're in a relationship, you're dating, or you're intimate with a person, but they don't want anything else? They don't want more of a relationship. They just want the casual sex, and that's it. How do you work through that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you have to ask why. If the topic comes up and let's say you're on a date and the guy says, let's hook up, or he wants sex, but not the commitment, then are you the kind of person that puts sex and commitment together? Or are you not? Because, and keep in mind, for girls, guys can compartmentalize this a lot easier than girls can. It's very easy for guys to compartmentalize sex completely separate from feelings or love or attachment. So you need to know that. So if you're okay with sex with no commitment, then if that's okay for you, then you need to do that. But just keep in mind, sex does change things. It's not something flippant or casual that should be entered into lightly. Everything changes in a relationship once you have sex. You bond with that person. There's all kinds of chemicals and hormones that are released that actually will bond you emotionally and physically to that individual. So you have to be aware that you have good reasons for wanting to do this.
So is it a myth then that you can have sex without any attachment? What do you think?
What do you think?
From my experience, from the therapy I've had with many people, I don't think that there is no commitment on sexual relationship. So there must be something emotional over there, but they are not aware of. So I think that emotionally we are connected to our hormones. So if we have hormones in our body physically, we emotionally feel it. So I don't know if
so does that become
this myth is 100% sure, or is it right to think of?
So that becomes then the attraction, is it the hormones playing with us? And we're kind of getting into scientific questions now, but what part of it is it? The emotional, the hormones, the physical, skin to skin? At what level do you decide on what's going on, right?
Well, there are studies on the social psychologists. They have done some studies on the attraction, how people attract each other, and they have found that, well, there is a chemistry over there for sure, but we are aware of the emotional, of the psychological part of the attraction. So it's not something that is related only to hormones or only to the biological part. It's related also to our psychological development and social development.
Sure. So much to it, right? It's not just cut and dry as we think from creating a profile on a dating site, right? It's just a lot behind it. But what, great discussions. I think when we come back, we'll keep talking about the next steps: marriage, cohabitation. What really works. Keep watching. back to the show. So we're here with Paul and Ornela talking about relationships and dating, and you know, I think the next natural step, as we've been discussing on the show, is discussions around cohabitation, marriage. You know, with millennials, there's been a lot of studies that are suggesting that millennials are postponing marriage, postponing, you know, getting together with somebody later in life. So, you know, the impact of that on an individual. But, you know, Ornela, maybe you can talk about, you know, the pressure that millennials might feel to get married before 30, get married before, you know, a certain age. What are your thoughts?
From the statistics, around the year 1981, people were getting married before the age of 29.
Okay.
So there was a percentage of people who were getting married, a big percentage of people, young people, adults, getting married before the age of 29. Nowadays, we can observe that this percentage has changed. So we have moved to more than 50% of people who are not yet married till the age of 29. So,
so
there
50%.
is, yeah, almost 50%.
Yeah.
So there is a change of thinking about the marriage before the age of, so in between 25 and 29, people are thinking of getting more professionally developed. So they're not thinking as much as before
previous generations.
Now people are more focused on professional development.
Interesting. So of course not everybody, but you know, a large chunk of millennials deciding to educate, to put their careers first before getting married, or, you know, or living with somebody and having children. You know, the rates of marriage compared to the rates of divorces. Any you know, ideas on those numbers?
Yeah, we can see that nowadays the percentage of divorce have changed. It was almost 5.6% in 19 from the statistics of Canada.
Yeah.
It was almost 5.6% on the year of 1981, and now on 2011, it is increased, double increased. So it is 11 point something% of people divorcing or separating the other person. So, but there is an interesting fact also from the Statistics Canada, that 1 in 5 people nowadays almost are getting divorced.
1 in 5 are getting
1 in
divorced.
5, yeah. And it is observable mostly after the age of 50. So people after 50s, they are getting divorced with the...
So maybe the decision to, you know, postpone marriage till later in life is helping marriages stay together, relationships stay together? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I heard an interesting statistic, actually, that the average marriage lasts, I think it was 18 to 20 years. And the reason being that that's how long it takes to get married, have kids, and send them to college. So once that empty nest thing sort of sets in, then you have that age group, you know, they're around 50, early 50s, and a lot of couples, you know, are just keeping the marriage together until the kids sort of are away from home, and then that's when they get divorced. Yeah.
Interesting. So, you know, sort of a side branch off of that, in terms of living together, right? Where, you know, I think a lot of millennials, you know, are making the decision to live together before they get married. Pros and cons to that. What are your thoughts?
Well, the statistics for people that cohabitate are actually worse in terms of the relationship working out long term than people that actually get married. But it's a different, you know, like Ornela touched on, it's a different mentality. You know, marriage doesn't mean what it used to before, and sex doesn't mean what it used to be before. So people, especially that come from homes, you know, where their parents were divorced or maybe had a lousy marriage, tend to have a negative attitude toward marriage. And you hear things like, well, you know, it's just a piece of paper. What does it really mean? You know, and that kind of thing. So, You know, I don't know if it's a trend that we're going to see continue. I think probably we will see more people either just not getting married at all, or waiting till much later in life, or moving in together and then you know, eventually getting married. That's definitely a trend in that direction.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people use it as that test drive. Right, to test out their relationship before they make more of a commitment, but you know, pros and cons to that as well, as we're saying, right?
And you see more blended families than ever now.
Yeah.
Because you'll have, you know, maybe he has a child from a previous relationship, maybe she has one, then they have one together, so we have, you know, 2 or 3 different children with 2 or 3 or 4 different parents. So,
yeah.
You know, you throw that all in the mix and it can be challenging.
You know, along that for either of you, you know, do you think it's realistic to expect a monogamous relationship, you know, in our culture and today?
I don't know, what do you think?
Well,
open, right?
Yeah, it depends on how people or how our mentality is constructed. So it depends on the person's personality, on the individual personality. So some people might accept that, some people not. It depends on how you want to build up a relationship. So some people want to build up a relationship the way they feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
And some people, they go around some myths or some cultural, traditional, traditional rules. It depends on the personality.
Oh,
so.
Well, thank you, both of you, very much for sharing your thoughts today. Interesting topic. We could talk forever for this, couldn't we?
Could.
Perfect. Well, coming up next, we'll talk more about Gen Y issues that we really know best. For more information on our show and our guests, please check out itsallmillennial.tv.